Hello, Code Zero left a comment on a bacon review that I did that I ended up making my own potato chips to go with my hamburger that bacon went on. Making potato chips is pretty easy. It's pretty much just frying very thin slices of potato in oil and then put some salt on them. But I thought I'd go a little bit more in depth here. Alright, so I have a russet potato. I had washed it off in the sink, but I'm going to leave the skin on. You can take the skin off, it doesn't matter. So basically you have to make thin strips or slices of potato. And there's a bunch of different ways to do it. You could do it with a knife, but that would be horrible trying to get them all the same thickness. You want them to be the same thickness. You could use a vegetable peeler. Then you'll get your thin strips that way. You could also use, if you have a box grater that has these cutting things on the side, this works, but it's kind of scary. But then, and these are way too thick, but you know, if that's all you got, it might work for you. And then my favorite is the mandolin. I should really have my glove on, but I have it set at the thinnest slice, and that's what I like. It works perfect. So I'll be using this today. And then just a paper towel to catch the chips after they've been cooked. Alright, over on the stove here, I got some different utensils. I picked up this pan really cheap out at Sam's Club just for frying stuff in, because sometimes the other pans you'll get kind of a gummy residue from the frying, or if you had one of those little fry daddies or some kind of appliance made for frying, then you're perfect because that can maintain the temperature. You want to be about 350 degrees. So to watch that, you can use a candy thermometer like I got here, and you want to make sure it's not touching the bottom because then it might get an inaccurate heat reading. You can also use a metal fry thermometer that still has a glass bulb in it, but it's a lot better. I use a heat gun, infrared. It works really good. And then I have some peanut oil left over from frying the turkey, and I'm just going to use that because I got a bunch of it and I want to use up the really expensive vegetable oil. But you can use any kind of vegetable oil you have sitting around, and you don't need that much of it. I usually go about 2 inches deep. Alright, so I'm going to put the oil in here, get that going. Turn it up to medium high to bring the temperature up to about 370 degrees. Alright, I got the oil in there, I got it heated up, and it's to 370 degrees, which is just about right, because when you put the little potato chips, or the raw slices of potato in there, it's going to drop that temperature, especially since there's not that much oil. Excuse me. I'm going to put on my Kevlar glove, because this thing has, I sliced a huge chunk off right there. They had to cauterize it because it wouldn't stop bleeding after 24 hours. Mandolins are scary. So, since it's kind of a small pan with the oil in there, I'm not going to be able to put that many chips in at once. Sometimes I use a bigger pan and I can pot for the oil in it, I can put more in there, but this one's pretty small, so I'm just going to do about 15 chips at a time. And they cook really fast, so you don't have to worry. Alright. Now, there's a couple reasons I'm only doing 15 at a time. That's because I don't have much surface area. Now, you don't want these to touch or really sit on top of each other, but they're gonna. So I drop them in one at a time, make sure each one gets its own little coating of oil so it doesn't stick to the other potato chips. Alright, and then I'm just going to keep on moving them around a little bit. My temperature is going to drop, so I'm going to raise it up a little bit, even though it was pretty high. I was at 380 before. Now that's one disadvantage of using this gun, because I'm not going to get the best temperature because it can't get right down into the oil. I'm just getting on the top of the potato chips. So if I did have like a fry thermometer or a candy thermometer in there, I'd get a much more accurate reading, but that's okay. So just kind of keep mixing them around so they all get their own chance to sit in the oil and sit on top of other chips in the oil. I'm gonna go grab my draining plate. Alright, I'm starting to see a little bit of brown, and that means these are almost there. Now, this is something that just takes practice, but they'll go from not being browned to super browned really fast. And also, depending on how thick your potato is, your slice, and how much you want it to be kind of a little bit mushy on the inside, maybe. Alright, I'm calling it. Your goal here is to get as much of that oil off as possible. So spread the chips out a little bit. Try to blot them a little bit if I can. And then spread them out enough so you can put some salt on them. And I use a kosher salt. But you could go wacky with your seasonings, put whatever you want on them. I like a lot of salt. Alright, I don't have much of this potato left, so I'm just gonna cut this up real quick. 1, 2, 3. That's homemade potato chips. Thanks for watching. Just one more little thing. It's hard to get your slices perfectly even, right? So you can tell like the brown part on that one, that's because it was a lot thinner. And that'll actually crisp there. Then this other part, is kind of the whiter part, that's actually a little bit softer. So it's still kind of got some of that. It's like a French fry, the inside of a French fry. I've never really tried to make these and keep them around. In fact, after about 10 or so minutes sitting on this greasy stuff, the oil gets kind of cold. They're not that good. So it's pretty much the way I make these is for instant use.